What's up, everybody? Breaking news. James Harden officially traded, as Woj and Shams reported, to the Philadelphia 76ers for, it seems, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks. How the hell did this disaster happen so fast? James Harden situation. It seemed like KD, Kyrie, and James Harden, they were going to build a dynasty together for Brooklyn. But guess what? The dynasty ended 13 months. 13 months. Kevin Durant can't stay healthy in the regular season. And afterwards, like James Harden was struggling all year. And when the moment got tough, Harden quit. He bailed on the Brooklyn Nets. Pathetic attitude. This should be karma right there that James Harden does not deserve an NBA championship. Yeah, he could do what he wants, but trying to be committed, he wants to win a championship. So he tried to join KD and Kyrie Irving. Then all of a sudden, when Kevin Durant got injured and James Harden doesn't want to carry the load and he's playing like crap, this is how he responds. I mean, Joel Embiid's the type of guy who gets injured too. He gets banged up. What if Harden wants to carry that team? If Harden wants to carry that team without Joel Embiid, Harden's going to have to put up 30 points a game and play like his old self with Houston. But he hasn't shown that all year. He has not shown that all year at all. He can't get the calls that he used to. He still looks a little fat and out of shape at times for Brooklyn. And it's been a disaster. The way how he handled this situation and just sat out the last couple of games like this to get his way out, that's just a weak, pathetic attitude, mindset, pathetic James Harden. Like, why would anyone want that guy to win a championship? And I'm gonna get to Kyrie Irving later in a little bit, but Kyrie has been an absolute disaster and a failure for the Brooklyn Nets so far. He's been absolutely pathetic, not figuring out a way. So thank you guys for tuning in. I had to do this live stream right now. So instance, it happened. So you guys, thank you for joining the chat. I'm gonna read some of the comments about the Simmons Harden situation. And what's it gonna be like? Ben and Harden is overrated, says Charlie Gray. Yeah, they're both overrated to me. And the Brooklyn Nets, now that they have Simmons, Kyrie Irving, who can't figure out a situation to kind of like combine his personal sacrifices with trying to help his team. Kyrie Irving doesn't really care. He just shows who he is. Like, if Kyrie Irving really wanted to play basketball, he would have figured out a solution already. But no, like, he's too selfish. He doesn't sacrifice enough for the team. So let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid, a viable MVP candidate. How will him and Harden work out? Well, Philly, they're one of the teams to win it all, honestly. Like James Harden, I don't trust him too much as a closer. I mean, Seth Curry, he's a big loss for them. They have a good defensive player in Matisse Thybulle. And Tyrese Maxey, I believe he wasn't involved. So if they still have Maxey, Harden, I mean, Joel Embiid is, and what about Tobias Harris? I mean, the team, the Philly's pretty good. I mean, Philly with James Harden obviously is way better without Ben Simmons. Like, you look at the Sixers' success over the past like couple months. Joel Embiid has been balling out of his mind. And then you have a guy like Harden, who's a really good playmaker. I mean, Daryl Morey was patient. He knew what this was going to do. It's a good day for the Philadelphia 76ers. Honestly, a very good day. They finally got rid of the lousy, quit baby attitude Ben Simmons. And now the Sixers can just move on and try to complete the process, which is to contend for a championship. So it's going to be Harden and Embiid versus Giannis and Chris Middleton, it seems like. Joel Embiid is absolutely still the guy for the 76ers. He's been the better player than Harden for the most part. It's not even close right now. Joel Embiid's also a lot better defensively. He's more reliable as a scorer with his go-to moves on the post, while James Harden can score too. I mean, the Philadelphia 76ers, am I that sold on them? I'm not sold on Doc Rivers. I'm really not sold on Doc Rivers because Doc and Harden has a history of blowing leads and under contributing in the playoffs in the biggest moment. I don't trust Doc Rivers. I also don't trust James Harden that much for the Sixers. I still think the Milwaukee Bucks are the favorites to come out the East right now. So once again, the crazy trade, the Sixers and A plus, the Nets. I would give the Nets the whole season about the Brooklyn Nets has been an absolute disaster. I would give the Nets a B minus on this one. I mean, the Nets got rid of Karis LeVert and Jared Allen for James Harden rental for 1 year. Harden ends up balling out last regular season, only to get injured for the playoffs and only to play pathetic in game 5 and 7 against Milwaukee. They traded away Jared Allen, who is 10th in the MVP race right now for the MVP trackers, averaging 17 and 11 for Cleveland star. He's been playing better than James Harden this season. And then you got rid of Karis LeVert, who can carry the load with KD missing certain games and because of injury, and Kyrie Irving missing many of the games too. So the Nets could have still had Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving. And now with that, they have Ben Simmons and Steph Curry. I mean, Simmons, if he's willing to play and he's willing to show up, is Ben Simmons ready to play basketball, or is he just gonna sit for the whole season because of his mental health complaint? What's it gonna be? Like, we haven't seen Ben Simmons at all. I mean, his lack of aggressiveness and his weak attitude is just really pathetic. And now you got two of the most hated players in the NBA with Kyrie and Ben Simmons on the same team. This is a headache for Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant went from leaving Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to Ben, who can't shoot in the playoff Simmons, and Kyrie, who wants to take games off Irving. That's a disaster. It's too much of a head case. And Steve Nash, honestly, he's too much of a buddy to the players. He's got to step up and man up and go at it and criticize his players when needed. Steve Nash hasn't done any of that yet. He's too friendly to his player. He's more of like a player friend instead of being a head coach. And Brooklyn's lacking leadership right now. You got Kevin Durant, who's a phenomenal player, arguably the best player in the league today, but he's hasn't been a great leader at all, has not been a good leader. Ben Simmons is absolutely terrible as a leader. And Kyrie Irving, Lord have mercy, man. Kyrie Irving, he's just selfish, straight up, absolutely selfish. It's an absolute travesty for the Brooklyn Nets. It really is. So, reading some of the comments, the Nets won't be good if Irving still doesn't get backs. KD stays injured, Simmons can't carry. Yeah, they won't be good. They're probably going to lose 15 straight now. And the fact that Kyrie isn't eligible for a ton of games left, well, Kyrie has to figure out a way to get eligible. I'm not too familiar with all the rules, but if Kyrie can play home games, but if he's going to get fined, I haven't been following that much of the protocol rules, but if Kyrie can do that, he should just pay the damn fine and suit up and play for his team when his team needs him. His team needs him now. With Kevin Durant still hurt for a couple weeks, Joe Harris been hurt since November, and with Kyrie Irving just sitting at home, watching his team get destroyed like that because he can't play home games and he's not doing a damn thing about to help his team, just shows what type of teammate Kyrie Irving is. It shows what type of attitude he has. Why would anyone want to play with a guy like Kyrie Irving? But Kevin Durant's got to wake up. Kevin Durant, if he was a smart leader, if Kevin Durant was really a good leader, he would have went up to Nets management and had Kyrie Irving traded this past October to avoid all the conflicts and all the issues he's having. Like, is Kevin Durant the reason why James Harden wanted to leave? No, it's because Harden, he's frustrated with Kyrie Irving like not playing home games, and even James Harden said like he would give the vaccine himself to Kyrie Irving if he had the chance. He obviously wants Kyrie to play. He wanted to go to the Nets to contend for a championship, but since KD gets hurt like pretty much every regular season with his foot issues and ankle issues and whatnot, and Kyrie Irving just not showing up to certain games, James Harden's absolutely sick of that. And we all know that James Harden, like when he's healthy, when he's on the court and his mind is right, he loves to play basketball. I mean, James Harden's only missed like 1% of games when he was in Houston. So he's been pretty durable throughout his career. He loves to put up numbers, while Kyrie Irving, on the other hand, don't really care too much whether he plays or not. Kyrie Irving doesn't care if he missed like 5 straight games, even if he's not injured. He has all those excuses from personal absence. It's a disgrace to the game, man. All that talent, all that skill, one of the most exciting players to watch in all of basketball. And his attitude is just like, on and off, and he's like bipolar in a way. Like one day he's not feeling well, oh, I'm not gonna play, I'm gonna take off games. That's just an absolute disgrace. And Kyrie Irving's attitude and all the results that's coming from this season from the Nets, I mean, that leads to this mess from James Harden wanting to be out. And James Harden wanting to be out, he he quit on the Nets pretty much. That's what I didn't like. But I don't blame James Harden for not wanting to play with Kyrie Irving. Honestly, who wants to deal with a teammate like that that gives a lot of headaches? And now the Nets have Ben Simmons, who can't shoot in the playoffs. I mean, Ben Simmons, if he's gonna want to rejuvenate himself, if he's gonna want to silence his doubters, now that he's the third option on a Brooklyn team, if KD and Kyrie comes back, the Nets are still a pretty damn good team. They're still pretty good. They could still like contend for a championship as long as Simmons like mans up and becomes aggressive. I mean, their defense has gotten better with Simmons. They need defense, but Steve Nash cannot coach defense. How the hell is Steve Nash going to manage all the egos with Ben Simmons to Kyrie Irving? I mean, that's the biggest trouble thing. And yeah, the Nets they have Andre Drummond too. Is that true? Yeah, take trade Kyrie to the G League. Who knows what's up with Kyrie Irving? Yeah, Brooklyn is still a better team than the Lakers. Well, obviously, I mean, it's not hard to be better than the Lakers when you have a couple of good players. I feel like Kyrie will retire. Who knows? Who cares? At this point, like if you're a Brooklyn Nets fan, you gotta be frustrated as hell with Kyrie Irving. Like the Nets will probably be in a better situation if Kevin Durant was the only one that went there instead of Kyrie. But Kevin Durant has to follow where Kyrie went. If the Nets still had D'Angelo Russell, LeVert, Allen, and Kevin Durant, that team alone could be contending and would be off in a better position right now. You see the attitude and the presence around like Kyrie Irving, what he does to his teammates. Just look at the Boston situation. Absolute disaster. The team got worse when he was playing. Look at Kyrie. Oh, he didn't. The Nets finally brought him to play as a part-time player. Oh, because everyone got injured and everyone had COVID and whatnot. And it took until January for Kyrie freaking Irving to make his debut. So he was pretty much sitting out in the prime of his career for 4 fucking months. 4 months. And now what? And now what? I mean, Kyrie Irving, like this is what he does with to Kevin Durant's legacy. I mean, Kyrie Irving, likely the main reason why James Harden wanted gone. And now the Nets have to handle Ben Simmons, a guy who needs to be babied around, a guy who doesn't really work hard, and Kyrie, who doesn't show up to work half the time. Irving, Kevin Durant has to deal with this mess. Like, I won't be shocked if the Nets, if they lose in the first round of the playoffs, because right now they're currently in the play-in. If Kevin Durant demands a trade because he can't deal with these two head cases, I won't be surprised. It seems like Kevin Durant's decision right now, an absolute total disaster. The Lakers need a trade for Westbrook. Well, you know what? Who's gonna take Russell Westbrook? Who's gonna take him? I don't know who's gonna take him, but at the same time, the Brooklyn Nets experiment with Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, it's just dwindling down. Like Kevin Durant has not been any issue at all. Kevin Durant has been balling his ass off. You see in the playoffs, oh, Kyrie Irving gets injured because, oh, Giannis stepped on his ankle. Well, the truth of the matter about Kyrie Irving, even if he was ready to play, even if he did like follow protocols and do what he's told, and even if he's available, I mean, there's always a chance that Kyrie Irving gets injured and he's just not going to play. Like you look at the last 6 seasons, like break it down, like 2015, Kyrie Irving was not able to finish the season and he was hurt in the finals. 2016 and 2017, he was healthy to finish the season for the Cavs and they played really well with him and Bron. 2018 with Boston, could not finish the season. 2019 was a shit show for Boston. 2020 could not finish the season with the Nets. 2021 could not finish the season with Brooklyn. And 2022, who knows what's going to happen with him? Like all the drama that Kyrie Irving caused Nets fans is just pathetic. It's just unacceptable that the fans have to worry about, oh, is Kyrie Irving going to play? Like fans shouldn't have to worry about whether a superstar player is going to play if he's not injured or whatnot. All this selfish attitude about like Kyrie Irving, man. Like look at the Nets right now. They could have been a dynasty. Like and Kyrie Irving, let me go back to last season too, because of all the missed games and all the personal absences. I mean, the Nets were actually, if they won one more game last regular season, they would have been the 1 seed, and they wouldn't have to play Milwaukee until round until the conference finals. If they were put in Philly spot, they would have played Atlanta in the semis. And that was when Kyrie got hurt and James Harden was getting hurt. Kevin Durant alone realistically could single-handedly beat that Atlanta Hawks team. And then if you had Harden somewhat healthy for the conference finals against Milwaukee and Kyrie kind of fueled up, the Nets could have won the championship last year very much if Kyrie Irving decided to not take his DMPs and personal absences and get in the 1 seed and play Milwaukee in the conference finals because Kevin Durant was just unstoppable. That wasted one amazing season of Kevin Durant being available to play in the playoffs. And Kevin Durant is not a guaranteed guy to be healthy. He's had his injuries the last like 3-4 years. So the Nets got to be super cautious of him. Nash forcing him to play 40 minutes a game, whatnot. It's just a total disaster, man. Like what Kevin Durant has to deal with. Like, how do you go from a guy who's so unselfish from Steph Curry to the guy who's like totally opposite? Like Steph Curry's unselfishness, he's probably number one out of all the superstars. He doesn't care if he scores like 10 points as long as his team wins. He's happy and smiling. With Kyrie Irving, like Kyrie Irving don't even show up to his team's damn games like when he can't play. It's just absolutely pathetic. Like the one bad sign about Kyrie Irving, everyone should have seen it. And 2018 Game 7 against Boston, well, against Cleveland, with Boston a game away from the NBA Finals. Kyrie Irving wasn't even on the bench. He wasn't even there to support his team. That's all you got to know about Kyrie's attitude and selfishness. Like, how do you even explain that? Imagine you're just a teammate, like you decided to schedule having surgery the day your team's playing a Game 7 in the conference finals. You're not even on the bench to support your team. I mean, that's just so selfish. That's absolutely extremely selfish. Like, who would want a guy like Kyrie Irving like that? And combining him with Ben Simmons, a guy who quit, a guy who got his feelings hurt. Now both of those guys on the same team. Like, what's Kevin Durant gonna do? I mean, he's gonna put up his 30 points a game, and then Brooklyn, Kyrie and Ben Simmons are just gonna butt heads, and Steve Nash. I don't know how long he's gonna last, but that team has absolutely no leadership right now. They have no leadership whatsoever. That's just the truth. And the team is an absolute mess. Talent wise, they're still probably the most talented team in the league. Like, don't get me wrong, Kyrie, he's a top 15 guy when he wants to play basketball and wants to be committed. Ben Simmons, if he wants to get his head right, he's a defensive player of the year caliber guy. And he's also one of the best passers in the NBA. When Kevin Durant's one of the best scorers, they have what, Seth Curry and Patty Mills. I mean, they got a couple pieces. They got guys who can shoot jump shots, and Andre Drummond's just gonna come off the bench probably for Nick Claxton. He's not really that good. So it's just a bad day for the Brooklyn Nets to have this situation happen and James Harden wanted to leave. Like, just think about a team with Kevin Durant, who's probably a top 15 player all time in the NBA. He's been a top 3 player for the last like 10 years plus. And James Harden wants to leave a team having Kevin Durant. Like, James Harden, his attitude is also weak too. Like, James Harden, who the hell can he get along with? Like, with Houston, he was carrying the team. He was getting his 40, 50 points night in and night out. But James Harden in the playoffs, when the big situation comes, he underperforms. That's just the truth about James Harden. Underperforming in the postseason. Like, James Harden, yeah, he butted head with Dwight Howard. Him and D12 couldn't get along, and he wanted Clint Capella. And he had that team with Lou Will, Patrick Beverly, Montrezl Harrell. I mean, James Harden shit the bed in Game 6 of the playoffs. He had 10 points. Then he pulled up to the strip club. And then after Houston got Chris Paul, you look at what Chris Paul's been doing right now. Chris Paul, the last like 12 months, this past year has been a better player and more impactful to his team than James Harden. That's just a fact right now. And Chris Paul with Houston, CP3 had that untimely injury. But Harden wanting to not play with Chris Paul because CP got injured in 2019, and Harden didn't want to give up his scoring. CP wanted ball movement, and those two couldn't get along afterwards. I mean, the team lost to Golden State in 6 games. It was a competitive 6-game series. Steph and Clay just went off, and then CP decided to take his talents to Phoenix. And now Harden, he was pretty much stuck with Russell Westbrook. And then Harden and Russell Westbrook, that wasn't going to work out. So Russ played like crap against the Lakers. And then Russ and Harden couldn't mesh well. And then Harden, now he's like him and Durant and Kyrie. He wants to leave because like of Kyrie Irving's attitude and whatnot. but also having a guy like Kevin Durant, even without Kyrie Irving, you're playing with a guy like Kevin Durant on your team, and you're James Harden. You should still be good enough to contend and win against the better teams. You should still be able to contend against Milwaukee pretty much, and at least have a 7 game series. Of course, it's going to be tough to try to win a championship. It's always going to be tough for great players, but great players and all the truly great ones are able to prevail and have their signature moment. What was James Harden's signature moment in the playoffs? What was it? Like, he didn't really elevate his game in the postseason compared to his regular season success. James Harden taking CP3 for granted. Right now, he's taking Kevin Durant for granted. Like, taking CP3 for granted. If Harden and CP3 was still in Houston, they still be contending right now. They would be in the same position as the Phoenix Suns. CP3 makes everybody better. Look how good he is with Devin Booker. And if James Harden can't get along with CP3, I mean, and now that he's leaving a team with Kevin Durant, like, come on, that's just weak, man. James Harden, that weak attitude, like, how can anyone say he deserves to win an NBA title like that? And now at least he has Joel Embiid, who's absolutely balling out of his mind. Joel Embiid has been absolutely fantastic right now, and like, he's one of the top 3 players for MVP. Harden playing with a team like him. Yeah, the Sixers, I still don't trust them. I don't trust Doc Rivers in the playoffs. I don't trust James Harden in the playoffs. Joel Embiid in the playoffs has not been as good as guys like Jokic and Giannis, honestly. Embiid and Harden, the best duo in the NBA. Yeah, I still think that LeBron, like KD and Kyrie, are the most talented, and LeBron and Davis. Let's not forget about that. Yeah, I do agree with the Harden choking in the playoffs and the refs don't reward his flopping. I do agree with that. That's absolutely accurate. That is so accurate right now. So thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I haven't done a live stream in a while, so let me know in the comments below if you if you want me to do more live streams. So right now, I'm just going through some Twitter stuff. Yeah, yeah. The Nets are trading now. A lot of sources reporting it. Yeah, James Harden to the 76ers for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks. Yeah, wow, it's crazy. This is the crazy moment of the NBA like trade deadline right now. This is absolutely insane. A lot of teams got to do their work too. I mean, what the hell are the Lakers gonna do? They're gonna have to attach something with THT and Kendrick Nunn and all that. What do the Nuggets do? I mean, the Nuggets, they have to get Nikola Jokic some help first and foremost. Jokic has been balling out of his mind. He's probably going to win the MVP. It's either going to be him or Giannis or Embiid, in my opinion. They got to do something to help Jokic, man. Jokic has been absolutely amazing. And MVP caliber, Harden, great score. I do think they're gonna mesh well. Like, as long as James Harden, like, he doesn't like, as long as he just plays basketball and tries to get healthy and tries to just be serious on that team, like James Harden and Joel Embiid can absolutely work. I mean, Embiid can shoot the three, he can post up, he can get baskets. James Harden doesn't have to score 35 a night. Joel Embiid's capable of scoring 35 a night when he's healthy, but James Harden also got to realize that there's going to be certain games that he's got to take over and possibly score 35 a game when Embiid's hurt, because Embiid has had history of being injured and whatnot. And yeah, James Harden. Oh, a comment just said James Harden just ruined his whole reputation. If James Harden wins a championship with Embiid, will his reputations get ruined? Then James Harden's gonna look like a genius. But just the way he handled the situation, like with Houston, trying to get out of shape and gaining like 20 pounds of fat, and then Brooklyn just trying to quit on his team, just quitting, man. Imagine just quitting because you're angry and you want out and you just give up for work. Like, you hate your job so much, you just become a shitty employee and you want to get moved to another job or another role. So you just screw up and you just screw your teammates over. Like, come on, that's pretty messed up. And that's just a bad attitude I don't like about James Harden. Yeah, James Harden is 32 and declining. He should really lose some weight, man. I mean, he's not as quick like he used to, and he's been looking fat for the last year and a half, and that's just what I see. So I'm gonna be on this stream for just a little bit longer today. I have a lot of things to do. I'm gonna have a video up by a little after 3 p.m. about the trade deadlines. So a lot of interesting things. Once again, thank you guys for joining in. I really appreciate your support. Yeah, so the Sixers, they did the right thing. Daryl Morey absolutely did the right thing. I give Daryl Morey's grading, even if James Harden doesn't become the same player, he could have settled for a guy like a De'Aaron Fox. He could have settled for like maybe Malcolm Brogdon, but James Harden is still all-star caliber though. James Harden is still really good. He's not as good as he used to, but he's still around like a top 10 player in the league, like James Harden. And Daryl Morey being able to pull off James Harden for Ben Simmons. I mean, sitting out Ben Simmons forever, this is absolutely worth it. If James Harden can get his stuff together and he's able to play well for the 76ers, I mean, Daryl Morey, like, this is going to look like a genius move from him. If the 76ers, like, at least make the conference finals, that's the minimum. If they make it to the conference finals, and let's say they lose to a team like Milwaukee or Miami in like 7 games, then it's still pretty good because like the team having Ben Simmons and Embiid wasn't gonna go no further than the second round. But if the Sixers do lose to the Nets in the playoffs, that would be absolutely hilarious. I don't see the Nets winning a title anymore because of just their dysfunction with head case Kyrie and Ben lack of attitude Simmons. Like Kevin Durant just having to deal with that, man. I just don't think the chemistry is gonna be there. Like I just don't think the players' attitudes with their second and third best player, it's just good. I don't think it's gonna work out, man. Like it's when is Ben Simmons gonna actually play a game in the NBA? When is he gonna play? Is he gonna play next week? Is he gonna sit out for another month and get his head checked? Or is he just gonna be able to be like, oh, I'm gonna play for the Nets? Is Ben Simmons gonna suit up in a week? Who knows, man? Who knows? I still can't believe that like like Philly was able to pull off that trade with James Harden and then got rid of Simmons for a guy like James Harden. That's super impressive stuff by Daryl Morey. And yeah, if Ben Simmons can play like the Draymond Green type role, yeah, I mean Ben Simmons is absolutely talented. He's a way more talent than Draymond Green, and he's a way better athlete. And Kyrie Irving's a super talented guy too, but his attitude is just absolutely terrible. Like Steph Curry has the best attitude, and him and KD got along perfectly. Kyrie Irving and KD have similar game with their artistry and how they can score the basketball. Both of them are magicians, but Kyrie just has a super lazy attitude. I mean, I'm not sold on the Nets. It's just a disappointment. Like James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant, that era, have they even played like 20 games together? One of the most disappointing in NBA history. Like James Harden couldn't even play like a full 50 games had with Kyrie at the same time. It's just an absolute disaster, an absolute mess. With that said, given all the trades from the Nets to the Sixers, in my opinion, my personal opinion right now, the three best teams that has a shot to win the championship, the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis in his prime, absolutely unstoppable. He shit on Anthony Davis the other night. And the Phoenix Suns, absolutely insane. I think they're like 44-10 or something like that. And now with JaVale McGee and Biyombo, they got a couple big men now. The team has gotten better from last season, and Devin Booker and CP at the height of their chemistry, where CP still has it, and also the Golden State Warriors, Steph, Clay, Draymond when he's back, Andrew Wiggins. I mean, Golden State could still make a trade for Wiseman. Like we still have an hour left for this deadline. I mean, Golden State, Phoenix, and Milwaukee. Those three teams are the favorites to win the NBA championship. And I would say like Miami and Philly, they're like kind of right behind them. And I don't even put Brooklyn there anymore because of just their attitudes of Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons having two of the most hated players like in the NBA together because both of them like are viewed as selfish and they don't really care too much about their team. Just having them on the same team is just too much of a head case, even for a guy like Kevin Durant to handle. And I also see the Lakers losing in the play-in game. Probably they lose to the play-in to the Timberwolves, or if they win the play-in, they're gonna get destroyed by either Phoenix or Golden State. So there I have it right now. Thank you guys for tuning in. That James Harden, Ben Simmons trade, absolutely insane. I mean, Brooklyn, too bad. Philadelphia, best of luck to you, Sixers fans. And thank you guys again. I'm going to be out. I'm going to upload a video in a little bit on the winners and losers of the trade deadline. Thank you.